Welcome to the diagnosis group for disinhibited social engagement disorders. I'm Devin Jackson. The name of my client is Danny, Danny Olson, Olson, and the client's age is 5. Uh, the differential diagnoses for this client, the only one ruled in or considered was disinhibited social engagement disorder, because even though there was a slight uh, emotional withdrawal from towards the adult caregivers, um, the pattern wasn't because the pattern of behavior wasn't caused by the child being sad emotionally. It was just the fact that the child never got to connect with one or the main adult caregiver, so it sought out attention from each one that he was around because it was normal for him. The primary diagnostic features for my diagnosis were uh, Danny experienced negligent care with a deprivation of needs and repeated changes in his primary caregivers, resulted in disinhibited social interactions involving the overly familiar behaviors and lack of discrimination regarding social safety. So Danny would go out in random stores and talk to or try to hug random strangers and not even have the conscious mind to check back with his actual caregiver. So the client's story. So Danny was born to a mother who was 16 years old and still wanted to enjoy her social life. So she didn't really care for the child and uh, really relied on her mother to take care of it for her, who was also a single mother handling those kind of duties already. And uh, the mother didn't want the daughter to have the child anyway. So she didn't really care for the child. She didn't really care about taking care of it. One day, the mother went on a road trip and never came back, and the child was left with its grandmother. And 2 years after that, the grandmother died from cancer. So the child's mother's sister ended up having to take care of the child. And even though that she was financially stable enough to take care of the child had already been through enough trauma that that it wouldn't connect emotionally to one individual. It was already conditioned to connecting with uh, numerous adults that he felt could be this caregiver. Uh, the multi-axial diagnosis. So on axis 1, we have disinhibited social engagement disorder. On axis 2, there's none. On axis 3, there's none. On axis 4, it's negligent parenting and repeated changes in primary care providers. And for axis 5, the GAF is 65. And the theoretical perspectives, the two that I found was the family perspective and the behavioral perspective. So for the family perspective, the client's symptoms may be due to dysfunction in the family to which he was born, which there was. He was born to, his mother was only 16 years old and didn't really care for him that much. She wanted her social life in high school or whatever. And so, yes, also negligent parenting. And then the grandmother, once the grandmother had to take care of the son, um, it was the same thing because she was also a single mother and didn't really care for her daughter having the child, so she didn't care for it. She resented the child. Um, and the for the second, it's the behavioral perspective, which the client's symptoms may be due to a faulty learning experience, and the neglectful and negligent care he received from both his mother and grandmother resulted in his tendencies to approach and interact with strangers to be operant conditioned. Uh, his behavior was positively reinforced and having the attention from the strangers he often approached. All right. And that's the diagnosis for disinhibited social engagement disorder.